Alright, for my 5 people, got my mom and dad on the phone, and then Mama, Papa, and her friend Sue, our friend. But today, for the demonstration, I'm going to do what I know how to do best, is change the oil on a car. That fell in there. But, so first thing that I do is I pop the hood. If it's a truck and I can get under it without jacking it up, but if it's like your van or something low to the ground, I jack it up before I pop the hood, and then I'll just take the oil, where you fill the oil at, that cap, unscrew it, so then it'll flow out the bottom faster. And then most drain bolts like this are like a 12 to 14 millimeter until you get up to bigger trucks. Then they can be like a 16 millimeter, I think is the biggest I've ever seen. But on like my black truck, I have a little valve that you just push up and then go over, and then it flows out. But if you take a socket to the end of this, whatever size it may be, and just break it loose and do a couple turns, you get your either a 5-gallon bucket, whatever you're going to put the oil in. And then if you just take your finger on the top of it or the side and just spin it, it'll fly out, and then it won't get stuck in your whatever you're using for a drain, because fishing it out sucks. But then when it starts flowing, you can wait until it's done flowing, or you can do it at the start, the middle, whichever one. And you find you an oil filter wrench is what you're probably going to have to use. And then you just take it around the filter. That'd be like this on most everything I've worked on. And it's a little slip-on wrench. And when you go to loosen it, it'll get tight around it, and then you pull it. And all you have to do is break it loose. Then loosen it a little bit till it starts to flow out. And then you can wait a little bit and let the oil drain from the sides of it, and then just keep going and going and going. And then at the end, when it gets to the bottom of the threads, it'll just fall out. And then you can just let it drop and flip it over if you're using a little drain pan. If you're using like a 5-gallon bucket like we had to use on the water company's trucks over there and the big Mack dump truck that we used, then you just take the oil filter and leave it top side up while you're holding it, and then pour whatever's in it into the bucket and let it drain for 24 hours is what OSHA says. I didn't know that. I usually just throw them away, but now I wait 24 hours before I throw it away. And then everything that you did is now in reverse. I'll wipe down where the drain plug goes and then screw it on there. And all you have to do is just make it snug. You don't have to go all out because you'll strip it. So just make it snug, and then make sure when you put a new oil filter on, either old or new oil, you just do a little bead around that O-ring. And then when you put it on there, all you have to do is hand tight, because it'll tighten over time. Or you can do a quarter turn with the filter wrench, but I just go hand tight. It's always worked for me. I've never had any problems out of it. And then you go back up to the top of the engine, and if you have it up on a jack, you let it down. So when you fill it, if you check your dipstick, when it's level, they'll show the right, because if it's jacked up, it'll be off. And then on the cap, most of the times it'll say like 5W40. I know my truck's 1540, Dad's truck is 1030. Most diesels, older diesels, are 1540 like my truck. I think that Tacoma out there is 5W30. And you tape however many your manufacturer says. I think that Tacoma's 6 quarts. My truck's like 12 or 14 quarts. Diesels have way bigger capacity like those. Oh, the OMU trucks, I couldn't tell you how much exactly, but we had to use 3 5-gallon buckets to drain it. But whatever it is, you grab your oil out of the bottle. I don't have one with me, but then you take a funnel and you just pour it until you meet whatever quarts it may be. So like if that's 6.5, I'll do 6 quarts and then half of a quart, and then you put the cap back on, go in the truck or car, start it, let it idle for 30 seconds. I mean, you can do a minute, but just let the oil flow and get out, check your dipstick, and if it's right, you don't have to do anything else. You're done. If it's low, put a little bit more in it. And if it's high, you have to get an oil extractor, or that's the only way I know how to do it. But if you're careful, you won't ever go high. Most of the time it's low, and you just have to add a little bit more and more until you get the oil level right. And then after that, you're done. And whatever, I like to do them every 5,000 miles. Some people do them every 10.
Our first says it has to be 10,000.
I don't like doing that because when the oil will break down and it won't, or it'll build together is what it does. It becomes sludge. And then it's metal on metal contact, and it'll ruin your whole engine. It'll take out your bearings on your crankshaft, and then it'll mess your crankshaft up, and you'll hear a knock. And then eventually, that knock will end in a piston, or the piston connecting rod going out the side of your block. So basic maintenance, it goes a long way. And then again, the 5 people have my mom and dad on the phone, and then Mama, Papa, and Sue. Thank you.